And we lead with this. The South African Cabin Crew Association will approach the CCMA for a certificate to strike at FlySafair. This as a last-ditch attempt to avert a strike action over wages at the company failed to yield positive results. The parties met following the move by the employer to lock out cabin crew members over a wage deadlock. SACCA says it was willing to accept the tabled 4-year agreement of between 6 and 7%, but says the employer included in the final documents some non-financial benefits that were not bargained for. FlySafair will also approach the CCMA for intervention under Section 150 of the Labour Relations Act to allow mediation. The South African Cabin Crew Association is the majority union at FlySafair, accounting for 62% of the 800 workers. The union has been locked in months of wage negotiations at the airline, starting its demand at 15% that the employer moved down to lock cabin crew members out in the middle of wage negotiation as an intimidation tactic. SACCA will now finalize picketing rules with a certificate to strike expected on Thursday. The airline has withdrawn its compromise offer, also approaching the CCMA to intervene. I'm now joined by the Chief Marketing Officer of FlySafair, Kirby Gordon. Kirby, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Two issues that I think we need to ventilate at the start of this. What is the status of the existing offer, if at all? And then I want to talk about the decision to lock out the workers. I understand that an offer was made by FlySafair to the union yesterday. That offer was then not signed. And today that offer was rescinded. Is that the case, and what is the status of the offer?
No, I don't think that's quite accurate in terms of a summation of what's gone down. What happened was there was a meeting last week, Thursday, actually, whereby the company put their final offer to the union. It was a formal official offer that was tabled, and the union then voted to reject that specific offer. At the same time, we then, failing that at 5 p.m. on the Friday when that deadline was passed, we then issued a notice, because one has to give a 72-hour notice, of a lockout or an employer-initiated work stoppage. So that notice was issued already last week, and that work stoppage commenced as of midnight last night, which was effectively this morning. So that was something that was already on the cards long after the final offer had been made. Of course, we continued to negotiate with the union in good faith, and right up until Monday evening, when that just before that lockout was due to happen, we had an offer tabled with the union. There was a verbal offer made. It was obviously incentivized to a certain extent by virtue of the fact that it was intended to try and stop any kind of industrial action, so it was intended to prevent a lockout, but the union failed to agree to that and failed to get that over the line. So unfortunately, what has resulted in that now is that we are in this era of industrial action. Those costs are sunk, those requirements are as they are, and the offer is reverted back now to the original written offer, formal written offer, which as it stands at the moment is still tabled. It was again negotiated and discussed today. The union decided to take away from that and deliberate a little bit further. As it stands already, almost half of the union members and in a total of about 60% of our cabin crew have actually accepted that formal written offer as it stands. So it's really just a matter now of getting the balance across the line.
Yeah, Kirby, the union says that the offer that was then tabled, the written offer, did not quite reflect what was agreed upon in the verbal negotiation. That is to say, non-financial benefits were inserted into the written offer that was not bargained for. Is that the case?
No, these non-financial benefits that the union refers to are a range of different clauses that refer specifically to the basic conditions of employment. Now, these are a number of things that include, and specifically the one thing that they stuck on is the idea of a lunch hour, but they also relate to other things regarding maternity leave, the way Sundays are paid, the way public holidays are treated, etc. Now, these particular sets of rules only apply in our Labour Relations Act to basic employees or to basic conditions of employment. And the magic number in this equation is 21,812 Rand and 37 cents. That's where the minister has set that threshold. Anyone earning above that number per month is deemed to be a high earning employee. And all of our cabin crew, from the most senior to the most junior, earn more than that. So they are not considered within those remits. So the union had tabled that with us previously, and they said, listen, we believe that we have a different interpretation of how these particular elements should be applied by the airline in terms of your various procedures. And we said to them, look, well, we differ on that. But the reality is, let's take those, and this was the agreement, let's take those to the Department of Labour and get an interpretation on those in terms of what the Act says. For the time being, the discussions would really be around what the remuneration structure would look like. And so that is what has been discussed, and the offer that is on the table is and has always been purely around salary numbers.
Yeah. Importantly here, Kirby, is that the union then said that they were ready to sign the offer. What was your understanding about why they didn't sign the offer, given that you say those are pertaining to the basic conditions of employment, which seem, if I can infer there, to be stock standard?
Yeah, I think you're cutting to the heart of the tragedy here, to be honest. But, I mean, the reality is that obviously the company had a specifically generous offer on the table in order to try and avoid any industrial action. It's certainly not a situation that we would have sought to put ourselves into. And unfortunately, what this relates down to is this misinterpretation of these basic conditions of employment. So the union has it in mind that there's this idea of a lunch hour that is owed to the cabin attendants. Now, realistically, there is no lunch hour that would be perpetrated in accordance with a flight. I mean, you can't imagine that a flight from Johannesburg to Cape Town would touch down in Bloemfontein for an hour so that the cabin attendants could take lunch. I mean, it's an impractical reality. But what they would then very quickly equate that to is a mathematical summation of what they believe that lunch hour would cost, which in turn ultimately becomes another discussion around remuneration. And so effectively what they did was take the offer that the company had put on the table, which was incredibly generous. I mean, as it stands, the written offer, just to contextualize this, is between 16 and 19% increase for the individuals there. The generous offer that was tabled before the lockout was well into the 20% already, and they wanted to add upwards of another 3% to that. I mean, a 23% increase in an economy where most employers are giving 3, 4, maybe 5% in a low inflation environment. I mean, that would possibly be a record-breaking increase.
Okay, and just quickly, why did the organization choose to initiate a lockout, given the fact that the union did not give strike notice, neither do they have a certificate to strike? It's seemingly unusual for an employer to then initiate a lockout when there's no actual strike.
So they're actually two sides of the same coin. Effectively, when a certificate of non-resolution, which we colloquially call a strike certificate, is issued, it gives both parties certain rights. So the union can call for a strike, or the workers can call for a strike, and equally the company then has the right to initiate a lockout. It has been more than 30 days since we officially declared a dispute, and when 30 days pass, you move into the era legally where protected industrial action is permitted on both parts. So realistically, from that point of 30 days onwards, we were within our legal rights to be able to initiate a lockout, and equally the union were within their rights at any point to initiate a strike. The only remit to that is that either party has to give the other one 72 hours notice. So the decision to take to progress toward a lockout is a very difficult one. It's not one that we take lightly. It is a tool in the arsenal of the negotiators to ensure that we make sure that we actually get swift resolution to things. Obviously, when you initiate this instance, you've got people on no work, no pay, and equally you've got a sort of suppression on your ability to produce goods. So it really gets things moving and the conversation going. But it's also something that we felt was a responsibility, given the size of the airline. We need to protect airlift in South Africa, and it was essential that we make sure that we resolve this issue as soon as possible, not to influence the matters around G20 or the big festive season.
30 seconds. Your parent company share price has eroded 4% over the last 7 days. It seems to correlate with the ongoing industrial dispute there. Are you worried about the erosion of shareholder value?
Our parent company is not listed. I'm not sure what you're referring
to. Safari Investment.
Safari Investments has nothing to do with FlySafair.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Kirby Gordon, the Chief Marketing Officer of FlySafair. I want to bring into the conversation Chris Shabangu, the Deputy President of the South African Cabin Crew Association. Chris, are you satisfied with the answers that had been provided there by Kirby Gordon, very specifically on the lockout?
Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers. No, we are not satisfied. Nothing that has been said is true, to be honest with you. First of all, the union SACCA accepted the offer that was offered by SAFAir. So if we were to go back just a little bit, SAFAir gave us an offer, I think, let's just make it like Wednesday, last week, Thursday, somewhere there. And actually on the date, let me work on this, on the 30th, and they said we must give this to the members. We took the offer, mandated the members, and after mandating the members rejected the offer, the SAFAir offer. So as union officials, what we did is we spoke to the members and said, look, we don't think if we were to go on a strike or any industrial action right now, there is any chance of getting any significant increase on what SAFAir has offered.
Yeah.
So what we suggested to the members is that let's take the offer. The reason why we would take this offer, it is because there is an opportunity for us to be able to deal with 9 issues that we're going to discuss at the Department of Labor, which we agreed with the company, as Kirby has said, at least on that one. There's 9 issues that we're supposed to discuss after the wages. After we've signed this, we were then going to go to the Department of Labor, discuss those issues, and we told our members there's an opportunity for us to get something out of it. Whether we get something financial or something in the form of off days or anything of that sort, at least we would get something. The members then said, if you guys are saying so, then let's take that deal. We did then indicate to the company that we will sign. That was yesterday. We went to SAFAir physically to go sign the agreement, and that was our understanding. We're going to sign the agreement. When we arrived at SAFAir, they had a different agreement from what we had. So they had inserted certain items from the 9 that they shouldn't have, because the Department of Labor was going to deal with it. The CCMA couldn't deal with those 9 because they didn't have jurisdiction to deal with those 9. I'll give you an example. It's correct. It's the lunch hour sacrifice. It is overtime. It is how
Kirby says that these non-financial benefits are standard. Do you agree with that?
No, it can't be standard. I don't understand what he means by that. I mean, he's talking about the threshold. We understand the threshold. It doesn't mean that if you're over the threshold, you don't have a right to negotiate anything above that. Actually, if anything, in our understanding, it means that you have a right to negotiate if you want to work overtime. Right. You have a right to negotiate your lunch hour. You have a right to negotiate all of those things that are available to you if you are under the threshold. So it's not correct. So, but however, what we have said as a union, if that's what you believe, and this is what we believe, then let's call it the Department of Labor to come and help us with those. In the meantime, we will sign your deal. We will sign this agreement that you've given us. But when we arrived at SAFAir, they had inserted all of those, particularly the lunch hour there, which is problematic to us. That's not what we were mandated. And we had not discussed this with SAFAir. We had never had an opportunity, even if we had to agree with them that they should insert it, but we had to be given an opportunity to negotiate this with them. And unfortunately, we didn't, and the CCMA could not entertain it because it's not under their jurisdiction.
Yeah. Kirby says the offer is still alive. That is to say, it's still on the table. Will you then consult your members, get a mandate, and then sign this offer?
I am not so sure what he's talking about. The offer is not on the table. I'm telling you, let him send me a letter now. This is no longer a joke. Let him send a letter now. That the offer. Let him send him. I'm telling the public now. If he sends that letter with the same offer, with the exclusion of the Department of Labor issues, we will sign it tonight. But that's not true. He's not telling the truth that the offer is still on the table. They told us today that they've taken everything off the table. Actually, what they have done is that they've taken the whole entire offer off the table and now sent to individual an offer that is way less than what they had offered to us. They're intimidating workers and giving them now 5.7. There's proof to this. We can give it to you if you want. Now they're offering them 5.7. They've taken away back pay. They've taken away meal allowance that they had promised. They've taken quite a few things and are speaking to the workers directly. So it is absolutely not true. They're not telling the community. I mean, the community the truth. The truth of the matter is that this union does not have a strike certificate. This union wants to sign a proper agreement of things that were negotiated, and we are ready to sign if there is. Even on Thursday, we have this.
Very quickly, will you still pursue a strike certificate application, and do your members intend to then strike?
Look, we haven't reached that point now. They are forcing us to that point that we should consider. And of course, after Thursday, if we are in a situation where we cannot reach an agreement, we would have no choice but to take that, to go on a strike.
Yeah. Shabangu, thank you so much for your time. I'll check in with you on Thursday after that engagement with the employer. Shabangu is with the South African Cabin Crew Association.